selection today will be, Whom Shall I Fear?
Shine. The oracles of the UCI. 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another, as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you are sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as their children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becomes saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you up on earth, therefore let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you, to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him, and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
All right, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Which is peace on Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. Now, in Bible study, we went over some things about the ordination of wearing fringes. It is important that whenever we read something that we also pay attention as to what transpired before that event, so that we may ascertain Yah's intent of that particular thing. Why is it important for us to even consider those things? The answer is understanding the things that led to a specific event will give us an upper hand when it is time for us to exercise spiritual discernment. Spiritual discernment is the understanding spiritually what you have encountered carnally. Spiritual discernment can be confusing as we come from the Sunday church and the pastor constantly stated that God talked to him or her and told them specific things. This causes people to imagine that the Most High has talked to them and given them directions, all the while ignoring the direction of the Father because it didn't come with a voice. Today's sermon is entitled Exercising Spiritual Discernment. Now, I recently had a question from Brother Carlin, who changed his name to Caleb. He asked about burial arrangements for Hebrews because he was, newly getting into the faith, and I think he has his baptism scheduled here in a couple weeks. He's coming down for that. When you deal with spiritual discernment and watching how Yahweh moves, he asked this question. We dealt with those things or put some things out there on Bible study. Then a couple of days later, I have to go to my grandmother's funeral, and a cousin of mine who used to live with my grandmother at a time has, lives in Detroit and owns a funeral home, and was asking a question about Hebrew burial. So it wasn't that Yahweh didn't talk to me. He didn't do any of those things. He sent this brother asked a question, and because of that question and me looking those things, not going back on my own recollection, looking at those things. So when I got to this funeral and was asked these questions, I was already prepared for this conversation by something else that happened before. So a lot of times Yahweh is directing us, but because we didn't hear a voice, and we got accustomed to hearing on Sunday morning, God talked to me and God said such and such. So then you go about your life and start going through things and say, man, ain't nobody talking to me. How am I supposed to do such and such? And all the while you're missing the direction that he's giving you. He's directing you the whole time. There wasn't like some kind of coincidence that this brother asked this question, and then I see a relative who I haven't seen in over 18 years. And the second thing that comes out of his mouth after, hey, how you doing? Next thing you know, we're in a biblical discussion. And everything that we have discussed, I was already asked before. See, this is a very vast book. If you think you can study all of this and have all of this ready 24 hours a day, you got another thing coming. But when you let the Spirit direct you, the things that you're supposed to deal with, he will give them to you right before you need them. But see, we greedy. We want everything at all times. You don't need everything at all times. See, a word heard in due season that's right for that season is the most perfect word. That's all you need. You don't need all the other stuff. Now, you may want all the other stuff, but you have to understand that there's only so much that most people can fit inside their brain and keep. So when you start talking to people for like 3 hours, they remember like the last 15 minutes. You know what I'm saying? That other stuff, that first stuff you said was deep. Yeah, but you pushed that out when you kept talking. You pushed all of that out. That stuff gone. That wasn't even spiritual practice. That was good practice for you. You should have stretched, put on you some little jogging shoes, because they didn't remember none of that. All that's gone. That last part that's there, that's what they remember. So a lot of times we think that it's, by multitude of words, you may not have but one thing come to your mind. That's the only one thing that he wanted you to say. Leave the rest of that. You may be overloading this person with information. And sometimes it gets confusing, because later on, we constantly playing things back in our mind and reevaluating. Man, I could have said this and I could have said that. No, you said exactly what you're supposed to say. Now go sit down. Let's begin today's sermon in Romans chapter 7.
Romans chapter 7 and verse 1. Know you not, brethren, for I speak to them that know the law, how that the law has dominion over a man as long as he lives?
Now, this is we got bits and pieces of this on Sunday morning, because there's certain things about this that Sunday morning didn't like. So it only gave us a verse or two, and then they had to get up out of here. Go ahead.
For the woman which has an husband is bound by the law to her husband so long as he lives. But if the husband be dead, she is loose from the law of her husband.
See, for that reason right there, Sunday morning don't like that. What you mean? As long as he living, I'm still bound to him, but I don't like him no more. I'm sorry. You don't have a problem with me. You have a problem with the Most High Covenant God of Israel. Your issue is not with me. But because there was enormous amounts of females in Sunday morning church, these things were overlooked so to pacify the feeling. This helps people get a lot of members when they avoid certain things that may hurt people's feelings. But you're only setting those people up for a serious judgment later on. So you trying to pacify their feelings today ain't doing nothing but hurting them when judgment comes. Now they have no opportunity to even straighten those things out because you never would even mention them. And according to the word, if the watchman don't mention them, Yahweh gonna judge them because they didn't do it. But he gonna require their blood at the watchman's hand. He said, wait a minute, you were the man that was in charge. Why you didn't tell him? Go ahead.
Verse 3. So then if, while her husband lives, she be married to another man, she shall be called an adulteress. But if her husband be dead, she is free from that law, so that she is no adulteress, though she be married to another man.
Right. So this gets confusing to people because then you go to other places and they said the law is done away with, not understanding which portions of the law that they're talking about. See, what we have to do is deal with the spirit of the law and not the letter of the law. And it takes spiritual discernment to find out which of those things are spiritual. Because from the beginning, the law was a spiritual thing. But us being carnal, we couldn't accept it. He said because something being found and as a problem to them, not to the law, to the people. Go ahead.
Wherefore, my brethren, you also are become dead to the law by the body of the Mashiach, that you should be married to another, even to him who is raised from the dead, that we should bring forth fruit unto Elohim.
Right. So then you have people that will skip verses 1, 2, and 3, and the pastor jump right to 4. You are become dead to the law. Back up and read that other one. See? So he has okayed those things. So it's no wonder why we did those things before going to other organizations, because that's the way we were taught. But we can't continue to walk in that. When you know better, you do better. Go ahead.
For when we were in the flesh, the motions of sins, which were by the law, did work in our members to bring forth fruit unto death. But now we are delivered from the law, that being dead wherein we were held, that we should serve in newness of spirit and not in the oldness of the letter.
Right. Now we should serve in the newness of the spirit of the law and not in the oldness of the letter of the law. And we're going to get to more of that as we continue to read. Go ahead.
What shall we say then? Is the law sin? Elohim forbid. No, I had not known sin but by the law. For I had not known lust, except the law had said, you shall not covet. But sin, taken occasion by the commandment, wrought in me all manner of concupiscences, for without the law, sin was dead.
Now you see how a lot of people would not even equate those together. For I had not known lust, except the law had said, thou shalt not covet. See, covetousness is the desire for something that is not yours. Most of us only know lust when it comes down to a sexual nature. Lust is not just a sexual thing. So you mention lust, and that's what automatically pops up into somebody's head. But if somebody got a car and you want that car to the point where you slobbing all over their car, you covered in their vehicle, man. Get out them folks' stuff. They open the door, you slide in before they get to sit in. They sit down, they sit on top of you. Well, how you get in there? Right, you're lusting. It doesn't always have to be of some kind of sexual nature. That's what covetousness is. But a lot of times we'll read that, and there are people that have the commandments posted on their wall, but don't really understand what all of them mean. Go ahead.
Romans chapter 7 and verse 9. For I was alive without the law once, but when the commandment came, sin revived, and I died. And the commandment which was ordained to life, I found to be unto death. For sin, taken occasion by the commandment, deceived me, and by it slew me. Wherefore the law is holy, and the commandment holy, and just and good. Was then that which is good made death unto me? Elohim forbid. But sin, that it might appear sin, working death in me by that which is good, that sin by the commandment might become exceeding sinful. For we know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold under sin. For that which I do, I allow not. For what I would, that do I not. But what I hate, that do I. If then I do that which I would not, I consent unto the law that it is good. Now then it is no more I that do it, but sin that dwells in me. For I know that in me, that is, in my flesh, dwelleth no good thing. For to will is present with me, but how to perform that which is good, I find not.
Right, for the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Now, be careful if you're flipping through the channels and start running into them televangelists that start telling you, you didn't do the sin. You see, your spirit is perfect. See, you talk about sin nature. See, that's your old person that do the sin. Don't worry about it. You still perfect no matter what you do. You keep listening to them folk and they're going to have you in that lake of fire. That stuff sounds real good. But Yahweh said, I'm going to wake you up and grab you out of your grave. So when he telling you, oh, your spirit is perfect, it was just your body that sinned. Guess what? He going to wake up when it's time for judgment. Your body. Yeah. See, Pastor Long Dollar didn't get to that part. See, he said, I'm going to call them out of their grave. Graves just mean you sleep. He said, I'm going to call them out of their graves. Those that died in the water, I'm going to pull them out of the water. What are you pulling the body out for? But he done told you your spirit's perfect. Don't worry about it. Sin if you're going to sin. You got a perfect spirit, right? But he didn't get to that part where they going to pull that body out of that ground. You going to walk up out of that dirt. Right. Be careful with them slick talkers. Go ahead.
Verse 19. For the good that I would, I do not. But the evil which I would not, that I do. Now if I do that I would not, it is no more I that do it, but sin that dwells in me. I find then a law that, when I would do good, evil is present with me. For I delight in the law of Elohim after the inward man.
Right. So when you get to that point of you're dealing with something, instead of trying to avoid it, which is what most of us do, go head first into those things and read everything that you can about that particular thing. You feel like you're having a problem with lust and adultery, go read everything that got something to do with lust and adultery. What other people do, they just don't want to acknowledge it. Stuff just ain't going to go the way because you look the other way. Go ahead.
But I see another law in my members, warring against the law of my mind, and bringing me into captivity to the law of sin which is in my members. O wretched man that I am, who shall deliver me from the body of this death? I thank Elohim through Yahshua the Mashiach, our Adonai. So then with the mind, I myself serve the law of Elohim, but with the flesh, the law of sin.
All right, let's go to Galatians chapter 2 so we can get a little bit more on this. Galatians chapter 2, and let's start that at verse 11.
Verse 11. But when Cephas was come to Antioch, I withstood him to the face, because he was to be blamed. For before that certain came from Jacob, he did eat with the Gentiles. But when they were come, he withdrew and separated himself, fearing them which were of the circumcision.
Okay, so, but when Cephas was come to Antioch, I withstood him to the face. Cephas is the rock on which the church was formed. Cephas walked with Yahshua. Saul didn't. Saul received a vision. Cephas walked with him. But partiality is partiality. It doesn't matter who it comes from. Because now he has the job of teaching the Euro Gentiles where he is sent, but then there's also Israelites, Jews, Yehudim amongst these people. So then he has to deal with both groups of these people. So then they'll deal with the Gentiles when ain't nobody watching. Then when other people of Israel come, now he withdraws himself. Now this causes him a problem with his job. And he deals with it, no matter what authority this individual has, because that problem is not just stopping there, it's spreading. Go ahead.
And the other Yehudis disassembled likewise with him, insomuch that Barnabas also carried away with their dissimulation.
Now you got other teachers now being carried away with it, watching what other people are doing. See? So this is where those Israelite pep rallies kind of get out of hand, and now they don't want to deal with nobody else but Israel. That ain't gonna work. That ain't gonna work. Go ahead.
But when I saw that they walked not uprightly according to the truth of the gospel, I said unto Cephas before them all, if you, being a Yehudi, liveth after the manner of Gentiles, and not as do the Yehudis, why compelleth you the Gentiles to live as do the Yehudis?
Now you have to stop and ask yourself a question. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? He said, if you being a Yehudi live after the manner of Gentiles, how you live after the manner of Gentiles being a Yehudi? See, there's already a dividing line in between what Jews are being talked about. A lot of times when people just say, oh, the Jews, what Jews you talking about? Because even amongst our people, there were different factions of us. You still have the people that are at the temple, that are still doing sacrifices. He says, you live as do the Gentiles. Well, then you're dealing with the spirit of the law and not doing the animal sacrifice, because Yahshua is your sacrifice. See, so now you're living as though the Gentiles. So why are you going to the Gentiles trying to make them live as the Jews? Hypocrisy. Go ahead.
We who are Yehudis by nature, and not sinners of the Gentiles, knowing that a man is not justified by the works of the law, but by the faith of Yahshua the Mashiach.
The works of the law. These are these things that we have, that the this sacrifice to put you in your atonement, to do all of these things to make atonement for your sin. So it's not the works of the law, okay? But by faith that Yahshua the Messiah has paid that ultimate sacrifice for us. That's what the faith is. That you don't have to try to do this on your own. Go ahead.
Even we have believed in Yahshua the Mashiach, that we might be justified by the faith of the Mashiach, and not by the works of the law. For by the works of the law shall no flesh be justified.
Right, so then we have to be careful how we deal with that law, understanding that we don't get to the letter of that law, because our fathers were not able to keep the letter of the law. We keep the spirit of the law, and for that, you need spiritual discernment. Go ahead.
But if, while we seek to be justified by the Mashiach, we ourselves also are found sinners.
Sinners. Now, if the law is completely nailed to the cross, you couldn't be a sinner. Because the definition of sin is a transgression of the law. So people say the law is done away with. No, works of the law. Totally different. Go ahead.
Is therefore the Mashiach the minister of sin? Elohim forbid. For if I build again the things which I destroyed, I make myself a transgressor. For I through the law am dead to the law, that I might live unto Elohim. I am crucified with the Mashiach, nevertheless I live. Yet not I, but the Mashiach lives in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of Elohim, who loved me and gave himself for me. I do not frustrate the grace of Elohim. For if righteousness come by the law, then the Mashiach is dead in vain.
Right. Okay, let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 8. First Corinthians chapter 8, and we're going to start that at verse 1.
Now as touching things offered unto idols, we know that we all have knowledge. Knowledge puffs up, but love edifies. And if any man think that he knows anything, he knows nothing, as yet he ought to know. But if any man love Elohim, the same is known of him. As concerning therefore the eating of those things that are offered in sacrifice unto idols, we know that an idol is nothing in the world, that there is none other Elohim but one.
Now, we know this once we've been educated. Okay? But then there are other people that are still out keeping their Christmas gatherings. They're going to their Easter gatherings. Understand, Easter is the worship of Astaroth, the fertility god. That's what the bunny and the eggs is all about. All of these things are in worship of their various gods. But now once we get a accurate understanding, we know that those things don't really exist. But then we still have to be careful how we going to deal with it. Go ahead.
For though there be that are called gods, whether in heaven or on earth, as there be gods many, and lords many, but to us there is but one Elohim, the Father, of whom are all things, and we in him, and one Adonai Yahshua the Mashiach, by whom are all things, and we by him. Howbeit there is not in every man that knowledge. For some with conscience of the idol unto this hour eat it as a thing offered unto an idol, and their conscience being weak is defiled. But meat commendeth us not to Elohim. For neither if we eat are we the better, neither if we eat not are we the worse. But take heed lest by any means this liberty of yours become a stumbling block to them that are weak.
But take heed, because now we understand that it don't exist. But if the unlearned brother come by and see you at the Christmas party, hey man, what cycle's at the Christmas party? Let me go home and get my stocking. Now they're going to do even more than what they saw you do. Because they figured you justified it by you being there. And they figured, you know more than me. I know he know more. I seen him on them videos. He knows stuff. So he was there. It must be okay. Go ahead.
For if any man see you, which has knowledge, sit and eat in the idol's temple, shall not the conscience of him which is weak be emboldened to eat those things which are offered to idols? And through your knowledge shall the weak brother perish.
So now your knowledge has actually caused somebody else to perish. Go ahead.
For whom the Mashiach died. But when you sin so against the brethren and wound their weak conscience, you sin against the Mashiach.
Now hold on now. This is not a sin because it's written in the law. So if you're trying to find this in the law, you ain't going to find it there. No. When you wound a weak brother, you have then sinned against the Mashiach. Rattle that one around for a little bit. See, those are some things that we don't really consider. Go ahead.
Wherefore, if meat make my brother to offend, I will eat no flesh while the world stands, lest I make my brother to offend.
Now, we got to go a little bit deeper into that part right there. Let's go to Romans chapter 14.
Verse 1. Him that is weak in the faith receive you, but not to the doubtful disputations. For one believes that he may eat all things. Another, who is weak, eats herbs.
Right. So you have, and in several situations, we've encountered people that say, you know, man was originally vegetarian, so we need to eat nothing but vegetables. And then you end up with this battle among learned people. One want to eat meat. The other one say, you know, you having a problem if you eat meat. And when I say meat, I mean flesh. When it says in here meat, it's just talking about food. So then you have herbs. They just want to deal with vegetables. So you have the vegetarian versus the meatitarian. And this thing has been going on for a while with inside the word. So keep reading, bro.
Let not him that eats despise him that eat not, and let not him which eats not judge him that eats, for Elohim has received him.
Right. If that's what's right for you and that's what you need to do, that's all fine and dandy. But don't go over there trying to tell the other to snatch the chicken out the other brother's mouth. No, brother, here, get this broccoli. Hey, man, give me my chicken back. You want to eat broccoli, you go right ahead. But don't snatch my chicken, bro. Brother loves the yard bird. You know, don't play like that. Go ahead.
Who are you that judgest another man's servant? To his own master he stands or falls. Yes, he shall be holden up, for Elohim is able to make him stand. One man esteems one day above another, another esteems every day alike. Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. He that regards the day, regardeth it unto the Adonai. And he that regard not the day, to the Adonai he does not regard it. He that eats, eats to the Adonai, for he giveth Elohim thanks. And he that eats not to the Adonai, he eats not, and gives Elohim thanks. For none of us lives to himself, and no man dieth to himself. For whether we live unto the Adonai, and whether we die unto the Adonai. Whether we live, therefore, or die, we are the Adonai's.
Right. He has purchased you with a price. He paid the ultimate price. Go ahead.
For to this end the Mashiach both died and rose and revived, that he might be Adonai both of the dead and living. But why does you judge your brother? Or why does you set at naught your brother? For we shall all stand before the judgment seat of the Mashiach.
Right. Now see, that ain't what we hear on Sunday morning. You know, every time I go to somebody's, funeral, I've noticed, though, when I go, the message changed. Because somehow somebody done told that dude, that Hebrew Israelite priest. I've noticed that the message changed. Because before, everyone I went to, it was, they in heaven now. They in heaven. Hey, man, every time I go to one of them things, they change now. I said, well, look at here. I went to one funeral, and they announced right up the rip, don't nobody come up here and try to read scripture. I was like, when have you went to a church and they said don't read scripture? But they were worried because I was in the program, right? They was like, this Hebrew gonna come up here and cause problems. But I guess he didn't know me very well. I didn't need to read the book to tell you up. You know what I'm saying? I still tore him up. I didn't have to read nothing. But it's that thing. They make a lot of money doing that. Your relative is up in heaven looking down on us now. Now they're right there in that box. They're right there in that box, and they're gonna be asleep. And they're gonna sleep until the day he wakes. Everybody getting up at the same time. But that don't make people feel all woozy. You know what I'm saying? Because look, if somebody gonna pay $20,000 for a funeral, you got to make them feel good. It's hard to pay $20,000. You normally drive off with a car. $20,000. You normally got automatic windows and leather seats. You understand what I'm saying to you? So you got to spend $20,000 and walk away with nothing. So then you got to feel good about this $20,000. So they offer a nice little sweet lie to you. But the book tell you that that's a lie. The book said we all gonna stand before the judgment seat of Christ. It says we all gonna be awakened, and it's gonna be like tomorrow. If they slept 3,000 years, when they wake up, it's gonna be like the next day. They don't know it's been 3,000 years. When you go to sleep, you don't know how long you've been asleep. First thing you do is look for a clock. And if that say 2, you still trying to figure out if that little dot on there, is it 2 a.m. or p.m.? You don't know. Go ahead.
Even when we watch the movies and they portray this time thing of somebody from the past waking up, they always show you the shocker of them catching up with how much time has passed by.
Yes, they do. And every last one of them. The person is sitting there out, they trying to figure out, well, what is this? Because everything has changed in the time that they've been asleep. Somehow we didn't let all that get past us because we listened to Mr. Sunday morning say, I talked to God last night. See? I talked to God. And he said such and such. So now you getting insecurity about your own direction. Yahweh directing you. Yahweh is trying to tell you, hey, don't do that. You like, but I didn't hear him say nothing. Well, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. You keep waiting to hear Yahweh tell you or tell you not to do everything. You're going to have to exercise some spiritual discernment. Ain't nobody floating down the hall and going to come and tell you, turn left. Okay, now turn right. Now go to the refrigerator and get the milk out. Okay, now get the cereal. Okay, now pour the milk in the cereal bowl. Man, ain't nobody what? So you think Spirit ain't got nothing to do but direct you all day? Go ahead, man.
Romans chapter 14 and verse 11. For it is written, as I live, said the Adonai, every knee shall bow to me, and every tongue shall confess to Elohim. So then every one of us shall give account of himself to Elohim.
And if you go zip-tang into heaven, how did you give it an account for any of the things that you've done? Because you've then already received payment, but you ain't got your check stub. Go ahead.
Let us not therefore judge one another anymore, but judge this rather, that no man put a stumbling block or an occasion to fall in his brother's way.
Now you have to be careful, because you may be unknowingly putting a stumbling block in front of somebody else to fall. See, this can be done unintentionally, but it doesn't take away the fall just because you didn't mean to do it. That's what an accident is. It's an accident. That's why it ain't called an on purpose. It's an accident. But guess what? You still have to go to court after the accident. Huh? Right. Somebody got to still pay for this damage that's being caused. The whole thing ain't about you trying to do it. That's not what the court proceedings are about. The court proceedings is who gonna pay for this damage. It ain't about who tried to do it. Go ahead.
I know and am persuaded by the Adonai Yahshua that there is nothing unclean of itself, but to him that esteemeth anything to be unclean, to him it is unclean.
Right. Yeah, you have to consider that. To anyone, if you esteem something to be unclean, to him it is unclean. Go ahead.
But if your brother be grieved with your meat, now walketh you not charitably, destroy not him with your meat, for whom the Mashiach died.
Right. So then he gives that opportunity. Okay, if this brother says that he's vegetarian, or this sister, don't destroy them with the stuff that you're going to eat. This is the way that they want to walk. Give them that space to walk their walk, instead of trying to put your walk within their walk. So you have some people that get in the word, and then they try to convert everybody they see. And you have to understand, everybody ain't gonna hear that word. Everybody ain't gonna hear that word. You can talk to them, and it is not about education. Because some of the people be so educated, they have PhDs. PhD, DSD, RDFDW. They got all the letters. You start talking to them, they're like, what are you talking about? Jesus is Lord. They can't receive nothing else you saying. Right. They stuck right there. And you just a talker. It's a good practice. It's a good practice. And everybody needs a good practice. Just understand that you're just practicing. Go ahead.
Let not then your good be evil spoken of. For the kingdom of Elohim is not meat and drink, but righteousness and peace and joy in the Holy Spirit. For he that is in these things serveth the Mashiach. For he that is in these things serveth the Mashiach is acceptable to Elohim and approved of men. Let us therefore follow after the things which make for peace, and things wherewith one may edify another. For meat destroy not the work of Elohim. All things indeed are pure, but it is evil for that man who eateth with offense. It It is good neither to eat flesh, nor to drink wine, nor anything whereby your brother stumbles, or is offended, or is made weak.
Now, that is in the presence of your brother. Now, if you're going to go home and eat your meat and drink your wine, that's your house. Now, if your brother offended, he need to go home. Because I'm offended this bottle right here. You understand what I'm saying? Now, if this bottle here offend you, I advise you need to go ahead and start walking right now. Go ahead.
Have you faith? Have it to yourself before Elohim. Happy is he that condemneth not himself in that thing which he allows.
Mm-hmm.
And he that doubteth is damned if he eat, because he eateth not of faith. For whatsoever is not of faith is sin.
Now, pause. For whatsoever is not of faith is sin. You ain't going to find that in law. You ain't going to find that there. So if you're looking, it's going to be a minute. You ain't going to find that there. Let's go to our Exodus chapter 16. And one of the reasons why we have to go ahead and be exercising this spiritual discernment, it's going to be a great tumultuous time when the children of Israel are being gathered back to our own land. And most of the problems that we're going to have going to be from people who look just like us. So you hear all these people talking all this stuff, oh, the Gentiles, this, that, they're not going to be your problem. Your problem going to be people who look just like you. And it's going to take spiritual discernment to try to figure out if this person who looked just like me is my enemy. It's real easy if you allow people to tell you, okay, anybody whose skin tone is lighter than pecan is your problem. Oh, that is real easy. You just go up to you pecan tan, you my problem. Oh, that's real easy. But can you figure that out when they look just like you? See? See, now here comes the spiritual discernment. See, the devil playing tricks with you, making you believe that you're going to be able to see your enemy by what he look like. No, that ain't going to work. Your enemy look just like you. Matter of fact, he probably got on more cultural attire than you. He got a closet full of cultural clothes. You got like 2 outfits. He got all of that together. And if you think you're going to look at him and tell if that's your enemy, you got another thing coming. Because see, we've been given this image that Lucifer is this Hallel, is this real ugly entity with the pitchfork and the tail. The book says he is absolutely beautiful. Now, how many people looking for the most beautiful devil they ever seen in their life? I mean, so beautiful, you just look at him and cry, oh my God, he's beautiful. That ain't what you think about when you think about Hallel. When you think about the devil, you're not thinking about, oh my God, he is beautiful. Right. You already got deceived already. Because you're looking for the wrong thing in deception. You're going to look right past Shepritty and go right to somebody who looks aggressive. Go ahead, brother.
Exodus chapter 16 and verse 11. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel.
Right. And we'll murmur in a minute. We will murmur in a minute. Soon as something don't go our way, we on our soapbox murmuring. Well, I wanted this. I wanted that. Why we ain't got it this time? Why we ain't get it this way? Murmuring. And Yahweh is sitting there constantly listening to the murmuring of the children of Israel. And they think they're murmuring against Moshe. Who they're murmuring against is Yahweh. But they don't see that. Who they see is Moshe. But Moshe has a job to do. He's standing in the stead of Yahweh. So they don't see that they're murmuring against him. That's the whole thing about having spiritual discernment. Do you see what it is you're doing? It's like when the brothers came in and lied, they had sold the land. And then they came and lied and said, a guy entered into an agreement with his wife. Tell these people that we sold the land for this amount of money, because they want to keep the extra little money. Because they done already said, we're going to sell the land and we're going to donate this to the church. But then when they got time, they look, we ain't going to get the church all this money. You know what I'm talking about? So look at when you go in there and tell them we sold them for this much. So she done agreed with her. She walked in there and said, yeah, we sold the land for this much. Boom, she fell down and died. And what he said, I might be the man that's standing here, but you lied unto Yahweh your Elohim. You're not lying to me. I'm just standing doing a job. Now, who knows if that woman had said, look, we don't need to tell this lie. Why don't we just tell the man, look, we entered into a situation and then some money situations happen and we need a little bit. Let's just talk to the man of God. Let's just talk to him. But when both of them went, what did he do? He walked right in there not knowing his wife was dead. He went in there and said the same thing, and the same people that carried her out had to carry him out. But at least, hey, they together. They together in the same dirt pile. They in the same dirt pile. But if one person had a step and said, look, let's not do this, then one person can redeem the whole house. And we got to understand the power of that. The power to be, if it's just one. In some houses, it ain't but one person in the word. There's some people that got to go home and deal with situations every time they go home. They know the law of Yahweh. They say, I ain't going to deal with no pork. Go home, and the spouse is frying pork chop right there. They're like, good God Almighty. And you got the smell. Let me tell you something. When you stop eating that stuff, man, the stench of that stuff going in your nose, man, it's like car exhaust now. After you done stop eating it, good God. It didn't bother you like that when you was eating it. But when you stop eating it, you can smell that poison. You walk in. I've had people that, you want some? Oh, no, thank you. No, thank you. Oh, my God, no. But when I used to eat it, it didn't do that to me. There's people that's got to deal with that every day. But what does it say? Who knows, oh woman, whether you may save your husband? And who knows, oh husband, whether you may save your wife? But you can't save nobody if you go with them. How the hell you going to save them? You down there with them? That's what that spiritual discernment is. If Adam had just backed up and said, who told you that we wouldn't surely die if we eat from this tree? Because I know what was told to me. And I know what was told to you because I told you. So who told you that? Whole house. Saved. But because there's nobody left, now we got all of this. That's what all this is. All this. This is all this. I want you to do that. This is all this right here. This is all this part right here. See, here go Genesis. Right here. There go Genesis. All right. Here go the rest of it. That's the meat part right here. This is man going with the woman. Right here. Now, that could be opposite the same, because it could be a situation now where it might be the sister. You might have to stand out. Then you can prevent all that right here. Look at that. Look at that. Hold on, let me so you get it. Let me flip that thing on there so you can hear that. You know, you like to hear that. You know what I'm talking about? Right. We have opportunity to prevent all that. Because when there's nobody left, Yahweh got to send somebody. And he can't just send anybody. Now he's got to wait for the time to bring forth a perfect body that can be offered up for his creation. Now that takes time. You can't just do that in a week. Go ahead, bro. Where you at?
Verse 12. I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel. Speak unto them, saying, at even you shall eat flesh, and in the morning you shall be filled with bread, and you shall know that I am Yahweh your Elohim. Exodus chapter 19 and verse 13. And it came to pass that at even the quails came up and covered the camp, and in the morning the dew lay round about the host.
Mm-hmm.
And when the dew that lay was gone up, behold, upon the face of the wilderness there lay a small round thing, as small as the hoarfrost on the ground. And when the children of Israel saw it, they said one to another, It is manna, for they knew not what it was. And Moshe said unto them, This is the bread which Yahweh has given you to eat. This is the thing which Yahweh has commanded. Gather of it every man according to his eating, an omer for every man according to the number of your persons. Take you every man for them which are in his tents. And the children of Israel did so, and gathered, some more, some less.
Right, because it was an omer according to how many people are in the dwelling place. Go ahead.
And when they did meet it with an omer, he that gathered much had nothing over, and he that gathered little had no lack.
Mm-hmm.
They gathered every man according to his eating.
Right. So it was perfect in its measurements. What Yahweh said get was enough for everybody in the house, no matter how big the house was. Go ahead.
And Moshe said, Let no man leave of it till the morning. Notwithstanding, they hearkened not unto Moshe, but some of them left of it until the morning, and it bred worms and stank. And Moshe was angry with them.
Mm-hmm.
And they gathered it every morning, every man according to his eating. And when the sun waxed hot, it melted. And it came to pass that on the 6th day they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for one man. And all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moshe.
Now you got to understand how confusing this might have been. That okay, we just picked this amount, and we know that this is an omer. It's in this little small place. But then when they go out on the 6th day, they pick that same amount, but it's double. So now they coming and telling Moshe, because they like, look, we were told to only get an omer per individual. I picked the same from the same area. Why do I have double? Go ahead.
And he said unto them, This is that which Yahweh had said, Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Shabbat unto Yahweh. Bake that which you will bake today, and seed that you will seed, and that which remains overlay up for you to be kept on till the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And they laid it up till the morning, and as Moshe bade, and it did not stink, neither was there any worm therein.
Now, whenever they left anything on any other days, it stank and bred worms. Whenever they got the stuff for the preparation day, they got 2 days worth, it did not stink or breed worms. Go ahead.
And Moshe said, Eat that today, for today is a Shabbat unto Yahweh. Today you shall not find it in the field. 6 days you shall gather it, but on the 7th day, which is the Shabbat, in it there shall be none. And it came to pass that there went out some of the people on the 7th day for to gather, and they found none.
See, this is us right here. This is how you know that this is us. You know, when people, when we find out that we are Israel, a lot of people are just like, I just can't believe that we Israel. All you got to do is read it. The more you read it, you be like, ain't no way in the world this can be nobody but us. I mean, he deliver us, we turn around and do something else right against it. I mean, we got that selective amnesia, Jack. We forget 5 minutes ago. But we can still remember 5 years. Right. Go ahead.
And Yahweh said unto Moshe, How long refuse you to keep my commandments and my laws?
Right. Now, see, this is the hard part about being a leader that don't nobody really get. See, everybody ready to lead, but they don't really understand what happened. Okay, now, who did this? The people did this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here come Yahweh. Yahweh said unto Moses, How long refuse you to keep my commandment? What's this you stuff? What's the you stuff? I ain't picked up no manner. I've been in my teeth. He said, How long you? See, that's something that the men of Israel got to remember. You the head of your house. When something go wrong, don't be surprised when Yahweh start hollering at you. And you start talking about, I ain't do nothing. I guess you did. How long you refuse to keep my law? What you talking about? I ain't do nothing. Right. Go see what's going on the other side of your house. Right. Moshe didn't do this. But Yahweh came right to him. And Yahweh gonna do the same thing to the men of Israel. When something go wrong, he'll be knocking on your door. Come here, man. Let me talk to you. Well, what? I just got home from work. I ain't did nothing. Go ahead.
See, for that Yahweh has given you the Shabbat. Therefore he gives you on the 6th day the bread of 2 days. Abide you every man in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the 7th day.
Now, to exercise spiritual discernment, we then have to examine the intent of Yahweh. Was his intent for us not to leave the house? Or was it his intent for Israel to trust him and not to attempt to find manna on the Sabbath? So now you got this thing, go not out of your house. That was not his intent. Because later on, he is going to orchestrate a holy convocation. Holy convocation means public gathering. How can you have a public gathering if you have to stay in your house? But you got to stay in your house because you ain't got sense enough to stop looking for the manna, and you already got 2 days worth. See? That's what you have to do. To exercise spiritual discernment, you then figure out what is the intent. But you got to back up before the thing. A lot of times we deal with the thing. Back up before the thing. Back up before that. Because if you just start dealing with the thing, you're starting in the middle. That's like starting in the middle on your favorite show. You don't do that. You be like, rewind this, baby. I can't do that. I need to figure out how that girl get that red dress on. How she just get that red dress on? We got to figure all that out. Right. Well, you have to do the same thing when you're in this book. You can't just start at a point. You got to make sure that that point is covering enough of that issue. Instead of just dealing with that, back up before that, figure out what happened. And sometimes you got to go before and after. You got to go before it to see what happened before it, and then read a little after to see what happened after. And then you will figure out what Yahweh's intent really was. Because understand, you got some people that still operate today like this. Don't go out your house on Sabbath. They do a whole lot of things according to that. That was never his intent. Not at all. Let's go to Exodus chapter 35. Consider when Israel asked for a king. It wasn't Yahweh's intent to give him a king at that time. They desired a king. And because they desired a king in their own time, the king that they got caused them absolutely none but hell. Go ahead, bro.
It just goes to show you, like you mentioned earlier about lust, our lustful nature, because with the manna, you were given sufficient amount for every man each day.
Mm-hmm.
So what made you want to go look for more if you already had enough that kept you sustained? And then you talking about the king. We was lusting after what other nations had.
Right, right. And they even said that. Let us have a king like all the other nations. Okay, you being directed by Yahweh Elohim. Man, we had, just coming out of Egypt. We got fire and a cloud. What? What other nation got that, Jack? Give us a king like all the other nations. We don't want to deal with these prophets. Right. And they got exactly what they asked for. But that was not Yahweh's intent. But it let you know the power of Israel, though. You keep asking Yahweh for something, and he might give it to you. But what you going to do when you get it? Go ahead, bro.
I just wanted to say, too, that it shows you that not every day is the same. Sabbath is different from any other day.
Mm-hmm. Right, because just in how he did the manna, that it didn't spoil. It didn't go through any of the things that any of the other stuff would go through during the week. But see, we let somebody else tell us, and that's how one of those things that we read earlier, that's how those things are taken out of context. They say, any day, no day is above any other. They take that and then throw that toward the Sabbath. See? So you have to watch those slick talkers.
Yeah, what you were saying is when it says some man esteem every day the same.
Right, there you go. That's what I'm talking Go to where we at? Exodus 35?
35.
Yeah, and read verses 1 through 3.
And Moshe gathered all the congregation of the children of Israel together, and said unto them, These are the words which Yahweh has commanded, that you should do them. 6 days shall work be done, but on the 7th day there shall be to you an holy day, a Shabbat of rest to Yahweh. Whosoever does work therein shall be put to death.
Now, you find this over and over again. He keeps saying 6 days shall work be done. Go ahead.
You shall kindle no fire throughout your habitations upon the Shabbat day.
Right. Now, you have to then find out what was his intent in dealing with this. You shall kindle no fire in your habitations. Understand, during this time, you have the fire is what makes the fuel for any work. But what you have is people to this day eating cold sandwiches because they think Yahweh don't want them to have, no fire on the Sabbath. So they eating cold cuts all day. You got a heater in the house, they in there freezing. Because they, in the Sabbath. But what are you doing? What are you doing? It's a Sabbath. You can't kindle no fire. So they can see their breath in the living room. What? How most of y'all think y'all got here? You know that car is a combustion engine, right? You ever heard somebody working on the car and they turn it over, they say, no, it ain't getting no fire.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Fire is what caused the car to crank up. That's combustion. How long you think it's going to take you to walk here? Y'all got to start Wednesday. So some of y'all live far. So now you supposed to miss work Thursday and Friday so you can keep the Sabbath. Because I got to walk there because I can't, no fire on the Sabbath. Right. What do you think his intent was? Spiritual discernment. Because see, there's some people end up using this law, and I've seen it over and over again. The law ends up keeping them because they're not dealing with the spirit of the law. They're dealing with the letter of the law, and then the law keeps them from doing anything good. So you have to be able to deal with that in its rightful form. Even when you deal with the priest had to cook hot bread on the Sabbath. And that was in the temple. So while you have, and we've had people come here and, they said, we serving food. They're like, no. I won't eat. So eventually you'd be like, what the hell is wrong with them? Oh, no, we don't, you had to heat up fire to do that. So we will not partake in that at all. All right, okay. Go right the damn head. But I'm gonna eat this here. It's delicious. See? Because they think, not even understanding, they were in the temple cooking hot bread. So these are priests cooking on the Shabbat in the temple. Gotta be careful. Gotta be careful. So then they walk around hungry on Sabbath. When you don't eat nothing, they be half weak, looking at us all crazy. What is wrong with them? Because they ain't nothing. And they think that's holy. Because they about to pass out. Right. Let's go to Exodus chapter 12. See, a lot of people just think this book is a book of stories. These stories are here for a reason. Because see, then you can find out how he dealt with certain things. He's giving you his intent, his spirit. He's letting you see those things. They ain't just there just to be there. When he says, I'm going to bring certain things back to your remembrance, you may end up in a situation and then boom, something hits your mind. Wait a minute, I remember when Joseph was in Egypt. You know what? I'm not going to do that. Make it such and such. I'm out, Jack. Yahweh just gave you direction. He brought something that you read before back to your remembrance, so that you can apply it to this situation that's in front of you. This just ain't a bunch of stories. Exodus chapter 12, and let's read verses 14 through 16.
And this day shall be unto you for a memorial,
Mm-hmm.
and you shall keep it a feast to Yahweh throughout your generations. You shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever.
All right, so it's talking about these feasts. Go ahead.
7 days shall you eat unleavened bread. Even the first day you shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eats leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And in the first day there shall be an holy convocation.
Holy convocation. Not just convocation, holy convocation. Go ahead.
And in the 7th day there shall be an holy convocation to you. No manner of work shall be done in them,
But
save that which every man must eat.
except that eat. No manner of work shall be done except that which you gotta eat. How holy can the convocation be if you're sitting over there hungry and the only thing you can think about, I want to think about Yahweh, but I'm so hungry. Right. Right. How holy is that convocation? You can't even focus. You ain't got enough energy in you to focus. Go ahead, bro.
Haven't we had high holy days? Like,
Atonement.
Yes.
that we had?
It was a Sabbath because it was a natural Sabbath, then it was a Sabbath because it was a feast day. High Sabbath. It's a Sabbath both ways. Yahweh said we're supposed to rejoice before him. I tell you what, you get a bunch of hungry people in the room, see how much rejoicing you got. So I want to see how much rejoicing you find with a bunch of hungry people in there. That rejoicing going to be small. They got enough energy for one hallelujah. Praise him. They out, Jack. They out. What you
I
got?
was just going to say, we've had the reverse where we've had atonement and we've had class. And everybody's sitting here.
Well, you know what? That's also when you get accustomed to things. See, I always do my sermon and I got a cup in my hand. Boy, that atonement class be hard, Jack. Cause sometimes I be teaching, I be like, ain't no cup right there. Habits are hard to break. That's why we have to be deprogrammed and reprogrammed in this word so that we replace our old habits with new ones. But you have to do something long enough for it to become a habit. See? Otherwise, those old things are still in there. See? And the adversary of the devil makes sure he get to you first. That way he want to hurry up. He won't get to you. He got to be the first one right out the gate to get to you, to tell you his story. This is how you ought to do it right here. It's praise and worship. Let's sing and dance all day long. You ain't learning jack, but I tell you what, you know some songs. Right. That's where he want to get to you. You know all the songs. But when it comes time to do something, nothing. That's what he wants to get. He wants you to be happy and stupid. People, happy and stupid people easy to lead. You just lead them anywhere. They don't know no better. They don't know no better. But intelligent people, when you start telling them to go the wrong way, they be like, hold on, man. You want me to stick my fork in that electrical socket? Wait a minute, I'm not gonna do that. That's common sense to me. It's a pow, and I'm gonna go there. No. See, it's hard to mislead educated people. But stupid, happy people, you can lead them anywhere. So that's the aim of some organizations. Keep them happy and stupid. How do you keep them happy? Do all the things they like. How do you keep them stupid? Don't really read anything in its entirety. Happy and stupid. You still make a lot of money because happy, stupid people, they bring all their money. You don't teach them nothing. You let them do some stuff that's against Yahweh's word, so they happy. And it looked like God is blessing you because more happy, stupid people keep coming. Right. But at the end, there's going to be a reckoning. And all the people who allowed that going to have to face judgment for that. We're going to see how happy everybody at when that goes down. Where we at, bro?
We're
going to Numbers.
Yep.
Let's go to Numbers chapter 15. Sometimes it's hard to perceive what love really is, because we've been told that, love is this little mushy feeling that, we feel, good all the time. And if we don't feel good all the time, it must not be love. But you'll find that when you're dealing with true love, it comes a point where you might have to fight with somebody you love just to save them. Or you trying to pull them out of the fire and they going deeper into the fire. And if you ever seen anybody try to stop somebody from drowning, you can witness that exact thing. That person that's drowning will do anything to save their own life. And they try to climb the person who's trying to save them. And in some cases, there are people that have jumped in to try to save somebody and both of them died. See, when you're trying to save somebody that's drowning, you got to come from the back. Or else they fight you so much that they make you drown. And you got to fight with that person to try and save them, because they're in their own mode of self-preservation. And every time they trying to pull themselves up, guess what they're doing? Pulling you down. You got to have enough strength that even when you get ready to save somebody, they don't pull you down. Two dead people ain't gonna do no good. Somebody gotta live. So that means there has to be a method to of your madness of how you're going to try to pull this person out the fire. We can't just be driven by emotion. We tried that already. We did that on Sunday morning. Numbers chapter 15, and let's start that at verse 32.
And while the children of Israel were in the wilderness, they found a man that gathered sticks upon the Shabbat day. And they that found him gathering sticks brought him on to Moshe and Aaron, and on to all the congregation.
Now people said, they read this, they said, look, I done did more than gather sticks. This is a mean God right here. But what you're looking at is presumptuous sin. They have no reason to have to do anything else. See, and that's something that we try to understand from our point of view, and it's hard to understand that from our point of view, because we still got jobs and we still got bills. They ain't got no job or no bills. What you working for? Yahweh has provided everything that you have, everything that you need. See, we don't even know that life yet. That's the life we hoping to get back. To have a house with no mortgage. The only thing we know, rich people have houses with no mortgage. We don't even know that life. We see somebody with a nice house, we're like, oh my goodness, how much this go? Just think, you got a house in the kingdom. Well, somebody gonna come to your house, man, that's nice, how much this cost? Oh boy, this $3.99. $3.99, man. No, Yahweh paid for this. No, baby. No, I got a deed here. You know what I'm talking about? Ain't no payments here. And I ain't never gonna lose it. Never gonna lose it. It's gonna be in my family forever. $3.99 every month. Go ahead, brother.
And they put him in ward, because it was not declared what should be done to him. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, the man shall surely be put to death. All the congregation shall stone him with stones without the camp. And all the congregation brought him without the camp, and stoned him with stones. And he died, as Yahweh commanded Moshe.
Right. So then, this is not just a thing of, this is that step before. Because you need that fire to create fuel to be able to work. So then he's still getting all of these things to prepare. So now you're looking at the step before. He hadn't even got the opportunity to go work yet. He was just gathering the sticks to prepare the fuel to work. He said, man, this is presumptuous sin. Why are you doing this? Go ahead.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments.
Stop. The fringes come after they can't figure out that they supposed to be not working on the Sabbath. This is where the fringes even come into play. So you got all of these things that Yahweh has given us originally. Then he sit there and look, why is this brother going to get sticks? What work you got to do? What bills you got to pay? You got a mortgage on that tent? You got some mule insurance I don't know about? What you need to do? Go ahead.
Throughout their generations, and that they put upon the fringe of the borders a ribbon of blue.
Mm-hmm.
And it shall be unto you for a fringe, that you may look upon it.
And what is the purpose?
And remember all the commandments
That
of Yah.
is the purpose. For you to remember the commandments. But it said that the law was spiritual in the beginning. The law was always supposed to be written in your heart. But if you need a fringe to remind you to keep the law, then you go right ahead. But at the beginning, from the beginning, it was always supposed to be right here. And in the end, it says, I'm going to write my laws in their heart. This is the way we were supposed to be in the beginning. This is why sometimes I wear fringes, sometimes I don't. But that law was supposed to be in our heart from the get-go. Go ahead.
And do them, and that you seek not after your own heart and your own eyes.
And that's what was going on. Seeking after your own heart and your own eyes, trying to figure out what work you can do on the Sabbath. Because, we're trying to get ahead. If I go ahead and get these sticks and go ahead and do this stuff now, by the time tomorrow comes, I'm already ahead of the game. Right. So now you're skipping past Yahweh's holy Sabbath to get to the next day. Go ahead.
After which you use to go a-whoring, that you may remember and do all my commandments and be holy unto your Elohim.
All right, now let's go and read something on the other side of that. Let's go to Matthew chapter 12 and verses 1 through 14. So when you go to the gym and work out, they tell you, you have to work out both ends of a muscle, the opposing sides. When we watch that foosball, we see them guys with big muscles, and then you hear that they done pull the hamstring, and you look at the dude, and he got these huge muscles in the front of his leg, but he ain't never work out the back part. So when he take off running, the muscle's so strong in the front that when he do this, he done already pulled the muscle. Ain't nobody even, if you look at a dude pull a hamstring, he fall down in the middle of the field by himself. Nobody tackle him. That's why sometimes it get confusing. How he hurt himself? And ain't nobody even hit him. He just fell in the middle of the field. Right. That muscle was so strong in the front that it jumped up. And when it jumped up in the front, it pulled the one in the back. So he just fall down in the middle of the field. Ball in his hand, ain't nobody near him. They were like, he would have scored a touchdown if he didn't tackle himself. Okay, well, we just worked on the front muscle. Now we finna work on the back muscle. All right, Matthew chapter 12. Let's start at verse 1.
At that time, Yahshua went on the Shabbat day through the corn, and his disciples were an hungered, and began to pluck the ears of corn and to eat. But when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto him, Behold, your disciples do that which is not lawful to do upon the Shabbat day.
Mm-hmm.
But he said unto them, Have you not read what Dawid did?
So now he's trying to establish intent. Just so you won't think that, that Esaac, he crafty, he trying to do. I'm sure Yahshua doing the same thing. Go ahead.
When he was an hungered, and they that were with him, how he entered into the house of Elohim, and did eat the showbread, which is not lawful for him to eat, neither for them which were with him, but only for the priest.
But only for the priest. Now, first of all, what he's doing is establishing these disciples and him that they are priests. So you have a lot of people that avoid the term priest because it comes with duty and responsibility. So they just like to call themselves teachers or something like that, And people gravitate toward that. Right. Being a priest has responsibility. Go ahead.
Or have you not read in the law How that on the Shabbat days the priests in the temple profane the Shabbat and are blameless?
Right. The priests profane the Sabbath because they work on the Sabbath. And they get paid on the Sabbath. Now, here's where I have to present something to people. Where you got folks wearing fringes conducting a service, but they call themselves a teacher. Let me explain something. But then they'll tell the people, okay, you need to pay tithe. Let me tell you something. Teachers don't get tithe. Priests get tithe. So why would you be paying tithe to a teacher? Okay, read, my brother.
But I say unto you that in this place is one greater than the temple.
Mm-hmm.
But if you had known what this means, I will have mercy and not sacrifice, you would not have condemned the guiltless. For the Son of Man is Adonai even of the Shabbat day. And when he was departed thence, he went into their synagogue. And, behold, there was a man which had his hand withered. And they asked him, saying, Is it lawful to heal on the Shabbat days? That they might accuse him.
Mm-hmm.
And he said unto them, What man shall there be among you that shall have one sheep, and if it fall into a pit on the Shabbat day, will he not lay hold on it and lift it out? How much then is a man better than a sheep? Wherefore it is lawful to do well on the Shabbat days. Then says he to the man, Stretch forth your hand. And he stretched it forth, and it was restored whole, like as the other. Then the Pharisees went out and held a council against him, how they might destroy him.
Mm-hmm. So they are ready to destroy him for healing on the Shabbat. Let's go to Luke chapter 13. And what people don't get out of that is understanding that these men are priests. Yahshua became our high priest. So what are the apostles that are under him? What are the disciples? They're under priests. Luke chapter 13, and let's read verses 10 through 17.
And he was teaching in one of the synagogues on the Shabbat. And, behold, there was a woman which had a spirit of infirmity 18 years, and was bowed together, and could in no wise lift up herself. And when Yahshua saw her, he called her to him, and said unto her, Woman, you are loose from your infirmity.
Now, I know some of y'all, every time y'all hear that, y'all picture T.D. Jake. Woman, thou art loosed. And apparently, in his version, the woman was some kind of stripper because they be throwing money all on the floor and all this kind of stuff. And that's the only place I haven't seen anything go down like that right there. There be some strange stuff happening now. That stuff don't fit what's in the book. But when you get those things seared in your brain, it's hard to get that stuff out. See, it was hard for me to get that little that blue-eyed guy with the perm with the long hair. It was hard for me to get him out my head every time I prayed. I had to start praying my eyes open. Because I knew the truth. Once I learned the truth, but I closed my eyes and started praying. Here come that blue-eyed dude. So, man, get out of here, man. So that I can retrain my brain, I had to start praying with my eyes open so that dude can get out of there. Now, once I got that dude out of there, I can close my eyes again. But I had to get him out of there. Because he kept showing up. See? But I had seen him everywhere I went. He on everybody's wall. On my mama wall, on my grandmama wall. He in my old Bibles. He everywhere. So it was just seared in there with a hot iron. And it took a minute for me to get him out of there. But he had to go. Go ahead.
And he laid his hands on her, and immediately she was made straight, and glorified Elohim. And the ruler of the synagogue answered with indignation.
Mm-hmm. Now, he in the synagogue. The ruler of the synagogue has indignation. Go ahead.
Because that Yahshua had healed on the Shabbat day, and said unto the people, There are 6 days in which men ought to work. In them therefore come and be healed, and not on the Shabbat day.
Don't be healed on the Sabbath. Right. Go ahead.
The Adonai then answered him and said, You hypocrite.
Right. See, people think that Christ just walked around and said a bunch of nice things to everybody. No, y'all not reading all this book here. Because he said some very harsh things. And people just walk around, God is love. He just loves everybody. And oh my God, he has so much love. Oh, what book y'all read? Because he said some stuff that was so bad, some followers just took off. They said he had 70 disciples. He said, eat my flesh and drink my blood. They were like, you know what, this man's a cannibal. We are out of here. Then when he dropped all the way down to 12, he said, all right, these are the ones that my Father has sent me. See, people don't consider that. He said, it's too many of y'all. What people do is say, no, you know, if it ain't enough, we need more and more in the church. Yahshua said, it's too many of y'all. Some of y'all got to go. Now let me try to figure out who not real. Right. Read, bro.
You hypocrite. Does not each one of you on the Shabbat loose his ox or his ass from the stall and lead him away to watering? And ought not this woman, being a daughter of Abraham, whom Satan has bound, lo, these 18 years, be loosed from this bond on the Shabbat day?
Mm-hmm.
And when he had said these things, all his adversaries were ashamed, and all the people rejoiced for all the glorious things that were done by him.
Yeah, but if he had not said those things, how would the people have, responded? You know, we have to, even in looking at, you know, those things, we have to use that spiritual discernment and examine the intent. I was looking at a program, and the pastor of this place said that they have a brand new service on Saturday night, which is what? Sunday. But you see how he tricked them? They think they're keeping the Sabbath. If you go on Saturday night, you just went on Sunday. You see how slick that is? But if you don't have that understanding, when people say, well, we keep the Sabbath, we do too, child. We go on Saturday night. Boo-boo, that's still Sunday. Right. You see how slick that is? Do you see how slick that is? But you see the slickness into that. So when you get led into something or tricked into something, it's important to find out how. And why do you want to find out how? That how exposes the hole that's in your armor, so you can go fix that. See, when you look up and you figure out, man, I done got off into something, now how I get into this? Back up. Okay, where did I go to the place where this got me? Right there. That's the hole in my armor. That's why I got to fix it right there. So that ain't gonna happen again. Now, I ain't saying I ain't never gonna fall again, but I won't fall like this right here, because I just patched up that hole that was in my armor. See, there's certain things that Yahweh allowed to happen so you can see there's a hole in your armor. Everywhere there's a hole in your armor, Lucifer can pierce through. You go back to where that hole in your armor is and you patch that up. And if you think you ain't got nothing to patch up, you got another thing coming. I'm constantly patching. I don't know what y'all doing. If you think you ain't got nothing to patch up, you probably got so much holes it look like Swiss cheese. If you think you ain't got nothing to patch up, I can tell you, you probably ain't got no. You're sitting there with a tank top on, think you got armor on. That dude got on a wife beater. You think he got on armor? Oh, yeah, you better be patching. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 9. No, we won't be through patching until Yahshua come. Okay, so don't think you got that job done. Ain't none of us got that job done. And don't get down on yourself when Yahweh show you a hole. And you got to patch the hole. Now you all down. Oh man, I ain't worth nothing. Let me tell you something. If he had showed you all the holes, you really would have passed out. He ain't show you but one. There's 4 more on that same side. He just ain't showed you yet. Hold what you got. I don't want him to show me all my holes at one time. I might pass out. Like, just give me one at a time. Once I fix that one, lead me to the next one, and so on and so on. 1 Corinthians chapter 9, and we're going to read verses 1 through 22.
Am I not an apostle? Am I not free? Have I not seen Yahshua the Mashiach, our Adonai? Are not you my work in the Adonai? If I be not an apostle unto others, yet doubtless am I to you. For the seal of mine apostleship are you in the Adonai. Mine answer to them that do examine me is this: have we not power to eat and to drink? Have we not power to lead about a sister, a wife, as well as other apostles, and as the brethren of the Adonai and Cephas? Are I only and Barnabas, have not we power to forbear working? Who goes a warfare any time at his own charges? Who plants a vineyard and eats not of the fruit thereof? Or who feeds a flock and eat not of the milk of the flock? Say I these things as a man, or saith not the law the same also? For it is written in the law of Moshe, you shall not muzzle the mouth of the ox that treads out the corn. Does Elohim take care for oxen?
So then, carnally, this law means one thing. Spiritually, this law means something else. Go ahead.
For saith he it altogether for our sakes. For our sakes, no doubt, this is written, that he that plows should plow in hope, and that he that treadeth in hope should be partaker of his hope.
So now he's talking about the workers in his spiritual vineyard, not the natural oxen. Go ahead.
If we have sown unto you spiritual things, is it a great thing if we shall reap your carnal things? If others be partakers of this power over you, are not we rather? Nevertheless, we have not used this power, but suffer all things, lest we should hinder the gospel of the Mashiach. Do you not know that they which minister about holy things live of the things of the temple? And they which wait at the altar are partakers with the altar?
Right. These are the priests that perform all the sacrifices. They eat those sacrifices. They receive, those tithes and things that are then offered, which is very interesting since you have all of these people who call themselves teachers, but they then are taking tithes. You don't pay tithes to teachers. And it's some of the most simple things that people just do not consider. They're not going to follow all of the regulations, but still get to receive of the gifts? Ooh, why they do that at? Don't go to work and show up and ask for your check. See what happens. Excuse me, it's check day, ain't it? You ain't been working 2 weeks. I know, but it's check day. How you think you're going to get checked? Right. Go ahead.
Even so had the Adonai ordained that they which preach the gospel should live of the gospel.
They that preach the gospel should live of the gospel. And it says in this book that there are various gifts within to fill a whole house. But if you're going to be minister of a house, you have to have authority to do those things. And that means you have to orchestrate those things to keep that convocation holy. Go ahead.
But I have used none of these things, neither have I written these things, that it should be so done unto me. For it were better for me to die, than that any man should make my glorying void. For though I preach the gospel, I have nothing to glory of, for necessity is laid upon me. Yea, woe is unto me, if I preach not the gospel. For if I do this thing willingly, I have a reward. But if against my will, a dispensation of the gospel is committed unto me.
Right. So if I do it with the wrong heart, I've already messed it up. So when I do it willingly, I have a reward. When I do it with the wrong frame of mind, I have already caused the problem. It is now a blemished sacrifice. because my mind wasn't right when I did it. Go ahead.
What is my reward then? Verily that, when I preach the gospel, I may make the gospel of the Mashiach without charge, that I abuse not my power in the gospel.
So understanding that he's going from place to place, teaching people who really, in most cases, don't understand the word. He knows his power on what he ought to receive. He's still working as a regular man. Getting offering from other churches to help another church. Go ahead.
You know, even in that situation when he was talking about working willingly, sometimes you might ask someone to do something. You want it done right away, and it's like, I don't feel like doing it right now.
Right.
You get upset. No, when they're ready to do it, you might find that they go above and beyond what you even expected.
Well, if they do it. Because, see, that's one of those things. And, see, sometimes you ask people to do something, and then they do it. But they do it with such an evil spirit that you just stop. You know what? Never mind. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about it. Because that's being done with such an evil spirit, it ain't going to be accounted unto you for righteousness anyway. So go ahead and stop now. See, the thing that we forget, Lucifer worked for Yahweh. He called Nebuchadnezzar his servant. He ain't kept not one Shabbat. Because there's evil stuff that got to be done too. So be careful. You know, hey, Judas worked for Yahweh. Be careful. You got a bad heart about something, Yahweh, like, you know what, I can use you. You know, I got some evil that I need done, and I'll tell you what, you are perfect. You are perfect. You and your little nasty spirit. Come on down here. Let me show you something. Right? Be careful. Be very careful. Remember, it was written, who's going to go down and persuade such and such that he may do evil? I'll go. I'll be a lying spirit unto him. Now here Yahweh like, who the hell taught you how to lie? And how did you just volunteer to be a lying spirit? Well, Lucifer told me. I know he did. Go on with your daddy. Right. Go ahead.
Verse 19. For though I be free from all men, yet have I made myself servant unto all, that I might gain the more.
Consider something. It says Lucifer is the maker of a lie. So that when he tells a lie, he's telling of his own creation. Let me tell you how property ownership goes. Whenever somebody owns something and you use it, you owe them royalties. So Lucifer made up a lie. So every time you tell one, you owe him. You can't use somebody else's property without paying. See, if we put some music on a video, then people be like, hey, copyright infringement, you got to pay us or take that song off the internet. Right. Lucifer invented lies. So then people will either lead you to believe something with a lie or do something with a lie, and they don't understand. Lucifer's sitting there. Count it! He's going to be like, oh, I'm going to need payment for that. Because you just used my property. I invented this line. And everyone you tell, you owe it. And if people really thought about that, it's times that your lips ought to not even move. When you thinking about letting that lie fall out. Well, you know what? Hey, we just gonna go ahead and let that sit right there. Because it's certain people you don't want to owe. See, it's brothers that are a part of this congregation who done went to jail, and they'll tell you, when a dude offer you the wrong thing, you want a cigarette? No, I don't want no damn cigarette. You don't want to owe certain people. Because there's strings attached when you owe them. Lucifer's the string maker. When you owe him, oh, you in trouble. He ain't the person you want to owe. It ain't no different than trying to go out there and borrow some money from some loan sharks. And they trying to break your knees every week. That ain't who you want to get money from. I don't know how bad you think your situation is, but those ain't the people you want to owe. Because people who don't pay them die. You won't be able to claim bankruptcy and wipe it off. No, we're going to wipe you off the face of the earth. No, you don't not pay them back. Lucifer the same. He going to get his money. He going to get his payment. Go ahead.
Payment isn't always required right after the use of it either.
Oh, no, brother. Sometimes, man, the best way, the biggest payment is when they defer it. They like to defer the payment. Oh, we ain't worried about paying me right now. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you when the payment is due. Right. Right. Oh, it's got deep interest. Right. Oh, don't pay me now. No. No, he wants you to stretch that thing out. So you be done forgot how much you actually owe when he come up to you with the bill. How many of y'all seen that Tupac movie? When he was ready to get out of his contract, he had done his albums for Death Row. And then Suge Knight pulled out that book. He said, yeah, man, you fulfill your contract. But let me open up this book of numbers. Suge Knight looked like just a regular thug, right? He had wrote down every dollar that he had given Tupac. Every show, every bottle of wine, every watch, every necklace. And it was all added up for a price. He said, so what are we going to do about that? I know you fulfill your contract, but you still owe me everything that's on these pages. What are we going to do about that? Right. That's how Lucifer short. What are we going to do about this accounting? You still owe me all this. For all them lies you told, I've been adding up every last one of them. You know what I'm saying? They do with interest. You told this lie in 1987. This is an 87 lie. Do you know what the interest on a 1987 lie is? So you still count 2018 lies. He's like, no, you ain't even paid for these 1987s yet. So we're going to start with these 1987 lies first, and we're going to work our way to 2018. How about that? Right. Right. It's going to be worse than them student loans. Go ahead, bro. I'm sorry, you got something? Go ahead, bro.
No, I'm just thinking about credit cards.
Mm-hmm.
You get the credit card bill.
Right.
And let's say you buy something for $100. You get the credit card bill, and they say, your $100 minimum is like $20.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom of that exposes the amount of money you will owe if you just pay your bill on time. And so that $100 purchase
Yep.
is now $400 by time.
Exactly.
And they tell you everything. See, that's the hurtful part of it.
Yep. Right. Right. And it's all there in writing. That this, you are absolutely correct. The $200,000 house gonna cost you $550 from as you stretch it out.
Yeah, but here we go. We want this now.
Mm-hmm.
Right now.
Mm-hmm.
We don't save for it. We don't do any of the right stuff for it.
Yep.
We want it now, and that's where sin comes in.
But you know what? That's where everything comes in, the right now thing. See? Because we come from this thing of instant gratification. And because that's the way we have been brought up in the daughter of Babylon, the daughter of Babylon is the biggest consumers of everything. We don't even consider some of the stuff that we just waste here. That there are places that would love to have clean water. We go to places and just put the humongous 2-gallon cup under the ice machine, put all the ice in and be like, man, that's too much ice. And then pour some out. It's somebody thirsty sitting there like, oh my God, did you just pour out half a cup of ice? It's just constantly wasteful. This is how we've been raised. See? That stuff gonna have to be purged out of us. And these are things that we don't even consider. The wastefulness that we have learned being in the daughter of Babylon, that's going to come out of us. We can't just go in that land just wasting stuff. This is why when they came out of Egypt, he started purging some things from them. He said, nah, I ain't going to let y'all eat all this stuff. Y'all eat this same thing right here. See, in their mind, they was ready to be free. And he said, no, you still got a captive mindset. And I got to get that out of you. Otherwise, even when you get ready to rule, you're going to rule the wrong way. And we got to give Yahweh that opportunity. He is our Elohim. He is our Father. You have to give him that space to work on you to help fix them holes in your armor. Because everybody got them. Yahshua the only one that's got perfect armor. Ain't none of us got perfect armor. It's going to take situation and circumstances that we're going to go through that is going to help us get that armor polished and ready. Because the war that we got to fight is a spiritual battle. And I know a lot of times it be, sisters, and we've said this several times, that sisters just let the brothers learn the word. Hey, for all them brothers that's learning the word all twisted, get what? They got wives that's learning the word all twisted too. And they're going to be right up in your face. So you can think you can just lead the word to your husbands if you want to. But them crazy dudes, they got crazy women. And they coming for you. Go ahead.
1 Corinthians chapter 9 and verse 20. And unto the Yehudis I became as a Yehudi, that I might gain the Yehudis.
Mm-hmm.
To them that are under the law, as under the law, that I might gain them that are under the law. To them that are without the law, as without the law, being not without the law to Elohim, but under the law to the Mashiach,
Mm-hmm.
that I might gain them that are without law.
Because you got the Euro Gentiles who are not instructed out of the law. You got the children of Israel who are instructed out of the law. And that he is then becoming both things so that he can reach both groups of people. So he makes sure that he doesn't do one thing that's going to alienate the other group. Because see, the Gentiles are not given the law. So if he walks around boasting with his fringes to the people who are not given the law, what message does that send to them? See, before, the law only was given to Israel. The gospel was only for Israel. That's not so anymore. See, we have Gentiles. Don't think because you don't see people in here. We have Gentiles that are part of this congregation. And if they come in here and I see any dissimulation between one of y'all, I'm going to withstand you to your face, just like Saul did Cephas. And that might be confusion to you because you don't see none of them. But see, I see every offering that come through this congregation. There's some people I can tell you their email address. I can tell you their address. And you might look and say, we ain't never seen this person. But I know who the contributors or helpers of this organization are. So when it says, if you be bid somewhere, sit you in a low seat, at least somebody with greater honor than you come in and they tell you to move. So you got those people who just float from place to place, them wandering stars. And they float in during the holy days, and I come up and tell you, move. Don't have your feelings hurt. Because some of these people been supporting this ministry way before you ever even thought about coming here. Especially when it comes to them people that we see once every 3 months. They just float here and about, because you got a lot of people, that's what they do. They just float. They just go in concert from place to place to place. They just floaters. But then come holy days, they float in. When you get down to Yahshua, he kept his holy days with his disciples. Read, bro.
To the weak became I as weak, that I might gain the weak. I am made all things to all men, that I might, by all means, save some.
All right, did you finish that? Yes. Let's go to Romans chapter 2. And we have holy days coming up. And the holy days in the 7th month, it is a lot of things that have to be done. And it shows you that Yahweh goes out with a bang when it comes down to the 7th month. It's the same way he does the 7th day. The last set of holy days comes in the 7th month, and he has several things going back to back to back. We'd be so tired after the last set of holy days. I used to say, and I before I felt like I had to work and still do the holy day. Man, I don't do that no more. I said, look at man, whatever bill don't get paid, it ain't gonna get paid. I be so tired doing something. I mean, during Tabernacles, we do something every day. I like, nah, I can't do that. And then I don't want to feel like, okay, I got to leave so that I can go to work the next day. No. So I said, no, I just ain't gonna do that. And it's amazing. When I made the decision and said, all right, look, no matter what, I'm not doing this no more. Then Yahweh took care of everything after that. But I had to stop first. What we want to do is make sure we got enough money first, and then we'll stop. Well, Yahweh, if you give me enough money, you know what I'm saying, I need some strawberries and whipped cream, and you give me all that stuff, and then I will consider stopping. Thank you. That's not how that works. I had to stop, said, look here, if I don't eat nothing, and these kids have to just eat some bean and wieners, because I grew up on bean and winnie casserole, me and myself. Y'all don't understand. That meal whole year with it. See, if that way had to happen, that way it had to happen. But it didn't have to happen. Yahweh took care of that business. Go ahead. Romans chapter 2, and we're going to read verses 23 through 29.
You that maketh your boast of the law, through breaking the law dishonoreth you Elohim. For the name of Elohim is blasphemed among the Gentiles through you, as it is written. For circumcision verily profits, if you keep the law. But if you be a breaker of the law, your circumcision is made uncircumcision.
Okay, we read this, but I don't think a lot of times people look at the meaning. Circumcision is your seal, your outward seal of the law, not the fringe. Your circumcision. See, a lot of people have gotten circumcised and don't know what a circumcision means. This is your outward seal that you are supposed to walk in this law. When it says, in this New Testament, he that is circumcised is a debtor to do the whole law. Then you got the same Christian people walking around talking about, we are free from the law. Then I ask one question, are you circumcised? Well, wait a minute. Right. You need to go talk to your mom. Right. Go ahead.
Therefore, if the uncircumcision keep the righteousness of the law.
This is the Euro-Gentiles. The circumcision is the Yehudim, the children of Israel. Then you have the uncircumcision, the Euro-Gentiles. Go ahead.
Shall not his uncircumcision be counted for circumcision? And shall not uncircumcision, which is by nature, if it fulfill the law, judge you, who by the letter and circumcision does transgress the law? For he is not a Yehudi, which is one outwardly.
Stop. He is not a Yehudi, which is one outwardly. I don't care what he got on. I don't care what he looked like. Go ahead.
Neither is that circumcision, which is outward in the flesh.
Because that's the real symbol of whether or not you're going to walk in this law. Go ahead.
But he is a Yehudi, which is one inwardly.
Which is one inwardly. Go ahead.
And circumcision is that of the heart.
Which is the same thing that we can go back in the Old Testament and read. That the law was spiritual. Circumcise your heart, Israel. Go ahead.
In the spirit and not in the letter.
In the spirit of the law, not in the letter of the law. Go ahead.
Whose praise is not of men, but of Elohim.
All right, let's go then to 1 Samuel chapter 16. First Samuel chapter 16, and let's read verses 1 through 7.
And Yahweh said unto Samuel, How long will you mourn for Saul, seeing I have rejected him from reigning over Israel? Fill your horn with oil, and go. I will send you to Jesse the Bethlehemite, for I have provided me a king among his sons.
Now, even as Yahweh then sends Samuel, and this is a great prophet, one of the great prophets of Israel, he tells him, I have provided a king among his sons. He still don't tell him which son. He still got to go work. See, when we listen to people tell us, Yahweh has directed me this, he has told me this, even when he deals with prophets, he still don't give them all the information. You got to understand that you're on a need-to-know basis with Yahweh. Please do not overstate your importance. All of us are replaceable at any given day or time. And all you won't do, and let me tell you something, Yahweh pretty cutthroat when it come down to that. He'll make you train your replacement. This is a blessed and anointed man. He is sending this man, but he don't tell that man which one. Just like he said, go to Jesse. I provided a king among his sons. You think Yahweh don't know which son he's going to be king? He already know, but he ain't tell him. Even in being directed, there's still some patience that you got to have. I find it amazing when we get that Christian dogma in our head. We think that Yahweh has given us every bit of instruction before we left the house. He told Abraham, go to a place which I shall tell you of. He didn't know what the place was. We got to have the coordinates on the GPS. Let me, Yahweh, go ahead and tell me what's the cross street. Where we going? I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. Make sure my mule don't get off course. Just start walking. Go ahead.
And Samuel said, how can I go? If Saul will hear it, he will kill me.
And he will not remove all the danger from everything that he asked you to do either. Because if Saul found out he was going to anoint another king, Saul was dirty. He killed priests. It don't mean nothing to him. He about to kill his own son. It don't mean nothing to him. He'll kill anybody. Go ahead.
And Yahweh said, take an heifer with you, and say, I am come to sacrifice to Yahweh, and call Jesse to the sacrifice.
So now he make a sacrifice just so you won't be lying. All right, tell him you're going to make a sacrifice. Bring that thing with you right there. And then invite the boy to the sacrifice, the daddy. Right. Go ahead.
And I'll show you what you shall do. And you shall anoint unto me him whom I name unto you.
Right. But I still ain't telling you that before you go. I still ain't telling you that. But get up, do the stuff I'm telling you, and start walking. Go ahead.
And Samuel did that which Yahweh spake, and came to Bethlehem. And the elders of the town trembled at his coming, and said, cometh you peaceably?
Right. Now you got people that preach. Anybody who teach is a prophet. Let me tell you something. When the prophet showed up, they didn't want nothing to do with it. Because they're trying to figure out, are you about to pronounce some evil on this town because of something that we've done? Now on Sunday morning, they said, we got the prophet here. Everybody go, ah! Glory! True Israel, when they said the prophet's here, they're like, ah, we won't die. They want to know why he here. Why he here? See, that's what that twisted understanding does for you. So you clapping when you should be trying to figure out, man, are we about to die? So you sitting here dancing the prophets in town. Ooh, wait, the prophets in town. You all happy. True Israel is worried. Why is he coming here? See, we do not consider. But see, that Sunday morning dogma got us turned around. That we happy all about the wrong stuff. When they said a prophet in town, you better be getting your ducks in a row. Go ahead.
And he said, peaceably, I'm come to sacrifice unto Yahweh. Sanctify yourselves, and come with me to the sacrifice. And he sanctified Jesse and his sons, and called them to the sacrifice. And it came to pass, when they were come, that he looked on Eliab, and said, surely Yahweh's anointed is before me.
Now listen to what Yahweh says. This is the man of Elohim. This is a man of God. He looks at this man. He looks like he ought to be a king, because he's a big, tall warrior looking brother. Go ahead.
But Yahweh said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance,
Uh-huh.
or on the height of his stature,
How tall he is don't mean nothing to me. Go ahead.
because I have refused him. For Yahweh sees not as man sees.
Uh-huh.
For man looks on the outward appearance,
Uh-huh.
but Yahweh looks on the heart.
Right. Yahweh is the same and consistent from the beginning of this book to the end. I look on the heart of man. So looking at the outward appearance don't mean nothing to me. You looking at him and yeah, he looked like a warrior. I have refused him. He not the one. Keep going. He could have easily told him which one. But Yahweh let him do the work. You're a servant, right? Okay, well, serve. He done already sent you to the house. Now he got to send you down the hall to the bathroom, to the living room. What? You do that work. So it's important for us to understand, even in having spiritual discernment, stop getting to that point that we expect everything to be presented for us. How you gonna grow if he gives you everything and you don't have to do nothing? How you gonna grow? You ain't gonna grow like that. Let's go to Matthew chapter 23. It's like we want to be strong, but we don't want to do the things to get strong. That's why a lot of us done bought all them gym machines and everything. And we just think the muscles gonna jump right off that machine and onto our body. Now you know you still got to use that machine, right? You can't just get the Bowflex and then you just flex, but you ain't touched the bow. That ain't gonna work. That ain't gonna work. You still gonna have to use that thing. Matthew chapter 23, and we're gonna read verses 23 through 36.
Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law.
The weightier matters of the law is the things that you have to consider. See, so he's then dealing with, there are some parts of the law that are heavier than others. See, people say a sin is a sin. Nah, not necessarily. There are weightier matters of the law. And that's something we have to consider. Remember, he offered it is written in Isaiah, he will magnify the law and make it honorable. Then you look at the magnified law that he offered. He went through these sayings where it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not kill. But he says, but I say unto you that whosoever hates his brother without a cause has murdered him already. That's magnified law. So you have to ask people when they're dealing with the law, which law are you dealing with? The Old Testament or the magnified law? And the people who are telling you that the law was nailed to the cross, not understanding the magnified law is even more difficult than the one before. So they walking around talking about, we've been released. We've been released. Right. Standing in all sin. And some of them very places where those brothers walk around with fringes talking about keeping the law, they done married 4 or 5 sisters in the same congregation. But they said we ain't married but one at a time. Pass them around like cookies. Here, you take a bite. All right, now you take a bite. Okay, now you take a bite. Wait a minute, there's too many damn lips been on that cookie. There's too many lips, and them lips in the same room. Something wrong with that. Something wrong with that. But you walk around with fringes on. Right. And his sisters done been married 3 or 4 dudes in the same congregation. Right. Right. You ought to examine what some of them people do, and you'll find out, wait a minute, something strange about this here. Something real strange about this. Right. Go ahead, bro.
judgment, mercy, and faith. These ought you to have done, and not to leave the other undone. You blind guides, which strain at a gnat and swallow a camel. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you may clean the outside of the cup and of the platter, but within they are full of extortion and excess.
So outwardly, they look like shining examples of righteousness. Go ahead.
You blind Pharisee, cleanse first that which is within the cup and platter, that the outside of them may be clean also. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you are like unto whited sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful outward, but are within full of dead men's bones and of all uncleanness.
Right. A sepulchre is where you put dead bodies. So on the outside, yeah, it looks shining and clean, but it's unclean inside of. And then he likens that to them. Say, oh, you look just like what Jews supposed to look like. Oh, you look so nice. But something wrong with your inside. Go ahead.
For so you also outwardly appear righteous unto men, but within you are full of hypocrisy and lawlessness. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! Because you build the tombs of the prophets and garnish the sepulchres of the righteous, and say, if we had been in the days of our fathers, we would not have been partakers with them in the blood of the prophets. Wherefore you be witnesses unto yourselves, that you are the children of them that which killed the prophets.
Right, because and that's one of the strange things when you deal with how things is offered in Christendom. You know, they have all these prophets, and everybody like to see the prophet. When you read this, he says, you are the children of them that killed the prophets. So they didn't like what the prophets had to say so bad that the prophet's life was always in danger, because they brought the judgment of Yahweh. But with people not understanding that, now you got all of these people saying, anybody who teach is a prophet. Now, where you get that twisted doctrine from, man? Anybody that teach. So if you read, you're a prophet. So I got 12-year-old prophets at the house, because you know what I'm saying, they know how to read. What kind of sense that make? Right. Something wrong with that doctrine. Something wrong with that doctrine. Go ahead.
Fill you up then the measure of your fathers, you serpents, you generation of vipers. How can you escape the damnation of hell? Wherefore, behold, I send unto you prophets, and wise men, and scribes, and some of them you shall kill and crucify.
Right, and this way, in this day and time, we kill and crucify with our mouths. We just say ugly things against them. We kill them, kill their reputation. Go ahead.
And some of them shall you scourge in your synagogues, and persecute them from city to city, that upon you may come all the righteous blood shed upon the earth, from the blood of righteous Abel unto the blood of Zacharias, son of Barachias, whom you slew between the temple and the altar. Verily I say unto you, all these things shall come upon this generation.
All these things shall come upon this generation. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 9. Hebrews chapter 9, and let's start at verse 1.
Verse 1. Then verily the first covenant had also ordinances of divine service and a worldly sanctuary. For there was a tabernacle made, the first, wherein was the candlestick, and the table, and the showbread, which is called the sanctuary. And after the second veil, the tabernacle which is called the holiest of all.
That's what these things right here behind me represent. The second portion. This stuff ain't here just because I like, you know what, I want to put some curtains up. You know what I'm saying? It'll be nice. It'll be real cute. No, it represents the holiest that they didn't go in but once a year. Go ahead.
Which had the golden censer, and the ark of the covenant overlaid round about with gold, wherein was the golden pot that had manna, and Aaron's rod that budded, and the tables of the covenant. And over it the cherubims of glory shadowing the mercy seat, of which we cannot now speak particularly.
Right. Now this right here is a very, very interesting part right here. Of which we cannot now speak particularly. And then I look at people who go and they try to read all of these fantastical books, and they read about angels, and they read all of these things. You have to first understand that some of that ain't none of your business. He said these things right here, we can't speak about those things right now, because that's above what he wants you to know. See, we think that Yahweh wants us to know everything. So then when somebody come out with one of these fantastical books, and they got all of these things, we can read where the angel didn't even want to tell Jacob, I think it was, he didn't want to tell him his name. Yet we can go in these other books, and they got all these names of angels, of this angel and that angel. We can go throughout everything that Moshe dealt with, and we can't come across but about 2 or 3 names of angels throughout this whole book. Yet you got one book that got 50 different angel names in it. Some don't sound right. Yeah, you got an angel say, what you want to know my name for, seeing it a secret? What you want my name? You don't need to know my name. Because you know how Israel make idols. Instead of worshiping Yahweh, we be worshiping the angel. That's how we do things. Go ahead.
Verse 6. Now when these things were thus ordained, the priest went always into the first tabernacle, accomplishing the service of Elohim. But into the second went the high priest alone once every year, not without blood, which he offered for himself and for the errors of the people. The Holy Spirit this signifying that the way into the holiest of all was not yet made manifest, while as the first tabernacle was yet standing, which was a figure of the time then present, in which were offered both gifts and sacrifices, that could not make him that did the service perfect, as pertaining to the conscience.
Right. No matter how the sacrifice was set up, if a rich man just had more to sacrifice, he would always be in the right stead with Yahweh, because he had a whole lot of stuff to offer. Then another man who don't have as many things to offer for his sins, now he walking around feeling bad, all because he just didn't have the same money that the other one had. So it didn't do nothing for a man conscious. Carnal. But it was part of the law. Go ahead.
Which stood only in meats and drinks and divers washings and carnal ordinances, imposed on them until the time of reformation. But the Mashiach being come an high priest of good things to come, by a greater and more perfect tabernacle, not made with hands, that is to say, not of this building, neither by the blood of goats and calves, but by his own blood he entered in once into the holy place, having obtained eternal redemption for us. For if the blood of bulls and of goats, and the ashes of an heifer sprinkling the unclean, sanctified to the purifying of the flesh, how much more shall the blood of the Mashiach, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without spot to Elohim, purge your conscience from dead works to serve the living Elohim? And for this cause he is the mediator of the New Testament, that by means of death, for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the first testament, they which are called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance. For where a testament is, there must also of necessity be the death of the testator. For a testament is of force after men are dead, otherwise it is of no strength at all while the testator lives. Whereupon neither the first testament was dedicated without blood. For when Moshe had spoken every precept to all the people according to the law, he took the blood of calves and of goats with water and scarlet wool and hyssop, and sprinkled both the book and all the people.
So the covenants are sealed with blood. Go ahead.
Saying, this is the blood of testament which Elohim hath enjoined unto you. Moreover, he sprinkled with blood both the tabernacle and all the vessels of the ministry. And almost all things are by the law purged with blood, and without shedding of blood is no remission. It was therefore necessary that the patterns of things in the heavens should be purified with these, but the heavenly things themselves with better sacrifices than these. For the Mashiach is not entered into the holy places made with hands, which are the figures of the true, but into heaven itself, not to appear in the presence of Elohim for us, nor yet that he should offer himself often, as the high priest enters into the holy place every year with blood of others.
Right. So even without understanding what that is, I mean, in other places it tells us point blank that Yahshua was our high priest. But the fact that he has gone into the holiest of holy and offered his own blood for the redemption of the children of Israel. Only the high priest did that. So when people then turn around and tell you that the priesthood is done away with, what do you think Yahshua is? Go ahead.
Verse 26, for then must he often have suffered since the foundation of the world. But now once in the end of the world has he appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. And as it is appointed unto men once to die, but after this the judgment, so the Mashiach was once offered to bear the sins of many, and unto them that look for him shall he appear the second time without sin unto salvation.
All right, let's go to Genesis 32. We got two little small things that we need to, well, two things we got to read. So that we can fully get this here. Genesis chapter 32. And we're going to start that at verse 1. Now, when we, look at this, the covenants are sealed with blood. Circumcision is the outward symbol of the covenant and not an outward showing of fringes. The New Testament was sealed in Yahshua's blood. So when we are baptized in his name, we are then sealed with his blood and become part of the covenant. When you examine this, we find most of the people who wore fringes, Pharisees and the such, were not baptized in his name. And today it is much the same. The very people who walk around and do all the fringes, not one of them are baptized. We're talking about whole organizations. Some span all throughout this country, outside of the country. Brother just showed me one of them in Russia. Not one of them are baptized. Not one. That, the covenant is sealed in blood. When you are baptized into Yahshua's death, that's the blood. So you got whole organizations that not one person, including the head elder, is not baptized. Not one cleansed person in the building. Consider that. Now, what kind of convocation is that? Genesis chapter 32 in verse 1.
And Jacob went on his way, and the angels of Elohim met him. And when Jacob saw them, he said, this is Elohim's host. And he called the name of that place Mahanaim. And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother unto the land of Seir, the country of Edom. And he commanded them, saying, thus shall you speak unto my master Esau. Your servant Jacob says thus, I have sojourned with Laban, and stayed there until now. And I have oxen and asses, flocks, and men servants, and women servants. And I have sent to tell my master that I may find grace in your sight.
Now, you understand that there's been, this whole thing that Esau believes that he has stole the blessing, even though, of course, he sold it. But now some time has passed, and now he's wondering if his brother is going to meet him with aggression. So then, as we start to get our spiritual discernment to grow, you have to then start examining these pieces of the things that these people have encountered. Go ahead.
And the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, we came to your brother Esau, and also he comes to meet you, and 400 men with him.
Now he already shaking in his boots right now. Because his brother, that's why he had to run out of the place, because his brother was going to kill him. See? So he didn't feel safe around his own brother. But now his brother is coming to meet him with 400 men. And I don't know what y'all know about brothers when they got other people with them. But I've seen some of the softest brothers. Oh, they hard when they with a group. Oh, boy, they get them a group and they hard. I mean, they hard. See that brother by himself and he got on pink socks and Wait a minute. You was the man when you was with all those people. Now you was hard taught. Now you just as soft. Look at them pink socks. Right. Got little fluffy balls on the end. Right. That thing changed when you ain't got all them people with it. So, when you already know you done had an altercation with a brother, and this brother coming to meet you with 400 people, oh, it gets your attention. Go ahead.
Verse 7. Then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that was with him, and the flocks and herds and the camels into 2 bands.
Now you got to see the difficult part of discerning things. So now he's not sure if his brother is going to kill him. So now he separates his house so they all don't die at the same time. So if one of them then get assaulted, the other part of the house has a chance to get away. See, if they all ain't there at the same time, somebody still gets to survive in the house. Go ahead.
And said, if Esau come to one company and smite it, then the other company which is left shall escape.
Now you know that may be difficult to divide your house, not knowing what's going to happen. But he has to put himself in a situation where all his house is not destroyed at the same time. And if he let all of them walk there together, if this man come out of a box on him, his whole house is wiped out in one walk. So he's dividing the house so that he may have an opportunity for the house to survive in case this man go crazy. Go ahead.
Verse 9. And Jacob said, O Elohim of my father Abraham, and Elohim of my father Esau, Yahweh which said unto me, return unto your country and to your kindred, and I will deal well with you. I am not worthy of the least of all the mercies and of the truth which you have showed unto your servant. For with my staff I passed over this Jordan, and now am become 2 bands. Deliver me, I pray you, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau. For I fear him, lest he will come and smite me, and the mother with the children.
Right. I fear my brother. I pray you, deliver me from his hand, lest he come and smite me and the mother with the children. So now he has to operate in a way that he doesn't allow his whole family to get consumed in one walk. And some people will look at that and be like, man, why would this man divide his family? Go ahead.
And you said it, I will surely do you good, and make your seed as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude. And he lodged there that same night, and took of that which came to his hand a present for Esau his brother, 200 she-goats and 20 he-goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 milch camels with their colts, 40 kine and 10 bulls, 20 she-asses and 10 foals.
See, he been working and stacking up because he knows that it's going to come a point that he got to meet his brother who has indignation with him, and he going to meet him with a present. Go ahead.
And he delivered them into the hand of his servants, every drove by themselves, and said unto his servants, pass over before me, and put a space between drove and drove.
So then you understand, dealing with that, he's then given an opportunity that these things reach his brother before he reaches his brother, that the present reaches his brother before he reaches his brother. That he has these people then that meets them first. So it's given an opportunity to get that anger to go down. Go ahead.
And he commanded the foremost, saying, when Esau my brother meets you, and asks you, saying, whose are you, and whither goeth you, and whose are these before you? Then you shall say, they be your servant Jacob's. It is a present sent on to my master Esau. And behold, also he is behind us. And so commanded he the second and the third, and all that followed the droves, saying, on this manner shall you speak unto Esau when you find him. And say you moreover, behold, your servant Jacob is behind us, for he said, I will appease him with the present that goes before me, and afterward I will see his face. Peradventure he will accept of me.
So he's making sure that all of those things have reached him before he sees him. See, there's a time when you have to operate in that spiritual discernment, that it might be better for your family to split up so that you can protect them, not knowing how long this man is going to walk in that anger. Go ahead.
So went the present over before him, and himself lodged that night in the company. And he rose up that night, and took his 2 wives, and his 2 women servants, and his 11 sons, and passed over the ford Jabbok. And he took them, and sent them over the brook, and sent over that he had. Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day.
So he's got one of the most tumultuous things in his life going on, not knowing if his whole family is going to be killed. And now as he's left alone, now he's wrestling with a man. And you have to pay attention in that to see how Yahweh deals. There's some people, when there's turmoil going in your life, your heart is actually easier to be penetrated. See, when people got it going on and all the bills paid, everything looking good, it's hard to get in that heart. That heart hard. But you know, when you come and till that ground a little bit, then you can get them seeds in there. But see, when that ground all hard, you can't plant nothing in that. You try to put something in it, it ain't gonna do nothing but lay on the top. No, you gotta dig that up a little bit. Then when you throw them seeds in there, now something can penetrate that ground. Hey, he real open right now. He don't know if he gonna die. Now Yahweh finna go on a whole nother level with him. Go ahead.
And, you know, even with that, sometimes when a person got a lot going on, that's the best time to leave them alone, because there's another fight that comes with strength that comes with that fight, as that angel found out.
Right. Well, see, look at that. The angel don't come until he has left, separated himself from everybody else. This situation does not present itself until he's alone. Go ahead.
And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint, as he wrestled with him. And he said, Let me go, for the day breaks. And he said, I'll not let you go, except you bless me. And he said unto him, What is your name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, Your name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince have you power with Elohim and with men, and have prevailed.
So the angel has then called you after the name of the son of Elohim. If Yahweh is the king, Israel is the prince. You are then named after the prince. Go ahead.
Continue going up.
Jump to chapter 33 and read verses 1 through 3.
And Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau came, and with him 400 men. And he divided the children unto Leah, and unto Rachel, and unto the 2 handmaids.
So he's got them divided, but then look at how he has them divided. Go ahead.
And he put the handmaids and their children foremost, and Leah and her children after, and Rachel and Joseph hindermost.
The one who was the representative of the Messiah, Joseph, he left him last. Because among the children, he's the one with the biggest spiritual gift. Let him at least be the last one to die. If anything happens, maybe he can get away. Go ahead.
And he passed over before them, and bowed himself to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother.
And when we look at these things, spiritual discernment is one of those things that'll take time. It's not one of those things that just you just automatically get because you're baptized. You have to just go and allow Yahweh the time to start working in your life and being deprogrammed and reprogrammed, and learn how to look at things differently than how we looked at it before. Because we have some very, very tumultuous things that we're going to have to go through, but it's a great prize at the end, and we got to be strong enough to make it through those things. And like I said before, do not forget that we have holy days here coming up. I don't know the actual dates, but you know that beginning first is going to be our Feast of Trumpets, which is going to be New Moon. And then we're going to start from there. It's just going to be days after days after days. So September 9th, I think. Do you have a thank you. So our Feast of Trumpets will begin Sunday, September 9th. That's at sundown, Sunday, so that's Sunday night. Day of Atonement is September 18th. That's on a Tuesday. Feast of Tabernacles, the first day, begins on September the 23rd, which is a Sunday night. And then day 8 of the Feast of Tabernacles is September 30th, which is also on a Sunday night. So, and in between day 1 and day 8, we have something going on every day. So this is a very big month for just even counting those, not even dealing with every day between day 1 and day 8. We got September 9th, September 18th, September 23rd, and September 30th. And we got every day in between September 23rd and 30th. So that just lets you know how much Yahweh still deals with the 7th. He's got the last holy day, the 7th holy day in the 7th month. And then he has all of these things going on within that month. So Yahweh still deals in the same order of how he set things up in the beginning. There's a slight altering of things within the spirit of the law, but the basis for it is still there. That's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.